Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about the cell membrane and the components of the cell membrane. So what makes the cell membrane? So the cell membrane, as you remember, controls what substances goes into the cell and out of the cell. We have two main types of cells. We have prokaryotes. So prokaryotes, if you remember, are very simple cells. They do not have membrane-bound organelles. And eukaryotic cells are more complex, and they have a lot of going on inside, right? They have a lot of membrane-bound organelles that we can find inside the cell. But all cells have a cell membrane. All of them. No matter how big, how small, how complex, all of them contain a cell membrane because we need that barrier that allows things to go in and out. That's how our cells get our nutrients and all the things that we need, and we can get rid of waste also. How the cell membrane looks like. So this is the main thing that we're going to talk about. It looks something like this. Okay, so this is the outside of the cell, and this over here is the inside of the cell. So we call the cell membrane the fluid mosaic model. And so fluid because it has movement. If you see it moves. And mosaic because it has a lot of things in it, right? Like if you were doing a mosaic, it has all those pieces together. The first structure that we're going to talk about is this one right here. This is called a phospholipid. A phospholipid is composed of head that is polar. The head is said to be hydrophilic. Hydro means water. Philic, likes. Right? Likes, loves the water. So hydrophilic means it likes the water. So, the head loves water. Then we have the tails. The tails are non-polar. That means they don't like water at all. So they're called hydrophobic. And let's break this word down. Hydro, again, means water. And phobic means fear. They're afraid of water. They don't like water at all. So this is a phospholipid. And this will compose mainly the cell membrane. And we call that we call that a phospholipid bilayer because they're arranged like a sandwich. So they have two parts. Okay, so the cell membrane has two parts where the heads are always outside in the fluid and not water. The heads of the phospholipids are covering each other's back, so the tails do not touch the water at all. Okay, so we call that a phospholipid bilayer because we have one at the top, one at the bottom. So our next component is cholesterol. Cholesterol is this structures over here. Okay, you can see them here, in between the phospholipids. And what cholesterol at low temperatures, it prevents the cell membrane to become packed. So remember, things tend to solidify at very low temperatures. So when those phospholipids that are next to each other are starting to become very packed, the cholesterol is there as a cushion to prevent that. So it's here preventing them to be so packed together. At high temperatures, the cholesterol helps keep phospholipids together. So at high temperatures, it means super hot. The cell membrane, then, those phospholipids tend to spread out a little bit more, and the phospholipid says, "Hey, you, come back here," right? So it's acting as a like cowboy with a lace to pull them back together so they don't spread as much and we don't compromise the cell membrane. Next up are proteins. And we are going to talk about specifically of two types of proteins. So the first protein, we have integral proteins. Proteins are these ones over here and over here. Integral proteins are proteins that go through the cell membrane. So they go from one side of the cell membrane to another one. Okay? And they act in transport, and we're going to talk about that in another lesson. So they act like a channel to move substances. So let's say this over here, glucose, we need glucose. So I hope you have eaten food today, your breakfast. So when you eat your breakfast, that food is broken down into smaller molecules called glucose. And your cell needs glucose to be able to do cell respiration so you can have energy all day, right? So glucose is a big molecule. So if you see, if I put it over here, phospholipids don't let them pass, right? But if I have an integral protein, it will allow me to pass the glucose through it into the cell and into the mitochondria. That's where we do cell respiration. Then we also have peripheral proteins. Peripheral proteins are these ones over here or over here side, right? We can find them in the top of the cell membrane. So peripheral proteins lie on the exterior of the cell. So they're here and here. So they're loosely attached, and they have other functions that in high school you will explore further. Our last structures is carbohydrates. This one over here. So carbohydrates can be attached to a phospholipid or can be attached to a protein. So depending on where it's attached, then the name changes. Carbohydrates, they participate in cell recognition. That means we identify cells as our own instead of a strange cell that the body will attack. We don't want that. We only want to attack other pathogens and things that are not supposed to be in our body. And also in cell signaling. That's all for today. So hopefully you have understood the different structures and components of the cell membrane and a better understanding now how it works and how those nutrients and ways can cross the membrane from one side to another. Do not get intimidated by science. That's my job, to try to make science a little easier for you to understand.